Phone calls. In this day and age, who still makes phone calls? But you still get them from some old relative, maybe a long-lost friend, or a company telling you you won some prize. But what if these phone calls in the middle of the night were from somewhere out of this world? A number who didn't exist in the phone book. A voice that was obviously otherworldly. Grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and remember, don't pick up the phone if it rings during this video. It's definitely a hello from the other side. Unusual phone calls. In 2008, over a span of a few months, I received some phone calls from someone who simply seemed to have misdialed a few digits. At first, I just dismissed it as a mere wrong number. He was so adamant in his vain attempt at inquiring info on the previous telephone number owner. And he kept going on to the point where we had established a little rapport through our strange dialogue. First call, it's a number and a voice that's completely unknown to me. Mid-20s, baritone voice asking for some Harrison. He speaks a bit too fast, but overall his air is very ordinary. I simply tell him that he has the wrong number. Later that day, he calls a second time, still seeking the before-mentioned person. He calmly states the number he's trying to reach one by one. It's definitely my number. I've had it for years, though. He's very articulate. You had to try to mishear him. He is certain the number is correct. He doesn't sound close to whomever he's trying to contact. He politely requests info on whoever had the number before me, or if I'm familiar with said person. I knew nothing about it, and thus was unable to help him. The conversation ended. Never did I expect to hear from him again. The third call takes place the next evening. I'm vaguely annoyed at this point. His end of the line was swarming with ambient noise from a TV or something. Oh, sorry. I guess the system is just messed up. He said affably. He sounded like such a genuine nice guy. From now on, our conversation was a bit more social in nature. I asked him about the noise in the background. He said he was watching a hockey game and quickly turned down the volume a bit. The Chicago Coyotes against the Vancouver Birds. The two giants are clashing, he said enthusiastically. I know nothing about ice hockey, so I changed the subject. So, there's a problem with the cell phone network? I asked. The service for the ports? He asked. You mean the cellular phone network? I replied. Everyone just calls them portables. Cellular is a technical term. Not really, at least from where I'm from. Maybe in Canada, or maybe they say mobile up there, but where are you from anyways? I asked. Illinois. Teloge, he replied. Oh, Illinois. And the other one, is that a town? Can't say I've heard of it, I asked. It's a city in the northwestern region. It's actually rather well known, he said. What was left of our talk was just chit-chat and more awkward miscommunication. We never spoke again. I was sitting down at my desk during the whole duration of the call. Out of curiosity, I googled this place he mentioned. It returned no significant results. But I wasn't sure of the spelling. I made a search for those hockey teams as well. They didn't even exist. I looked up terms for cellular phones. Nowhere is ports or portable commonplace according to Wikipedia. His number was listed in a directory. I dialed it a week later. Some elderly man picked up. Certainly not him. The well-known city really captivated me. Teloge. It's not a registered name anywhere. I tried every possible variation on the spelling, nothing showed up. Moreover, I realized much later that Teloge, Teiloj, could may well be just Joliet, Joliet, spelt backwards, which was my city of residence at the time. If it was a prank, then props for the subtlety and elaborateness. I lead a somewhat solitary life, and I can't think of anyone who would subject me to this. I think it's safe to say that I have a firm grasp on reality, but I'm unsure what sort of impression this has left me with. Haunted cell phone? Okay, so here's my strange story. This happened about 5 or 6 years ago. I had a friend, let's call him Steve, who bought a cheap prepaid phone, the ones where you have to buy the card thing for minutes. So Steve used it for a few months until he was able to afford a better one. Anyways, this cheap prepaid phone wouldn't send or receive calls or text messages unless it had minutes. Once he had to re-up on his minutes, he would receive the missed calls and text. So Steve left the phone in his closet since he didn't need it anymore, but he left it on. One day, he received a text message that didn't make sense, like random letters. The message didn't have any reply or delete options and didn't have the time or date at the bottom or anything, and after he would open, read, and then close the message, it wouldn't save on his inbox. After a few weeks, the random words started to make sense, like, why? Hello? And not those shoes. Steve thought it was weird, so he would always recharge the phone and leave it there. It was the three of us that would always hang out at Steve's house, and one day we were just chilling listening to some music, and we got a random text from the phone. Turn it down. Your mom's getting mad. And sure enough, his mom knocks on the door and tells us the music is a little too loud. We were both amazed and creeped out. Then it started happening so often that we would carry the phone with us and ask it questions, and it would answer back with either one word or short sentences. So about the time when we realized it would answer us, my older brother, let's call him Bob, dropped by because he was bored and wanted to chill. We'd quickly told him what was happening with the phone and told him to ask it any question. He gave us a little skeptical grin and asked, "Are you a bitch?" And right then and there, the phone gets a message. Not funny, Bob. Then he just threw it back at us with a what the fuck face. The creepy part was that the phone was talking to us three the whole day. And then right then and there, it knew my brother's name who had barely gone there. I started calling bullshit on the phone and started going through the settings and just messing with it, and then I got a message. Put me down. I just dropped the phone and said, fuck that shit, man. The next day we're at my other friend's house, and we just have the phone there. Now, just to let you know, I really hate Mayo, like really friggin' hate it. I had a really bad experience when I was in 3rd grade. So we were asking each other and wondering who was texting us, and then we get a text suddenly. If you want to know who I am, eat a sandwich with a lot of mayo. Right away, I knew the message was for me. Everyone started laughing and trying to make me eat one, but I just couldn't. Then after we calmed down, I got a text. Kim is calling you. And right then, my cell phone starts ringing, and it's her. I answer, and she just wanted to know what I was up to and if I was gonna go over later. She was my girlfriend at the time. it would also ask and tell my friends stuff. But I mostly remember the parts that involved me. So yeah, this goes on for about a month, until the phone stopped charging and died out. Sorry if this is a little long or grammar or whatever. I know it sounds like bullshit, but it really happened. I don't know how or why, just thought I'd share. A strange phone call. This didn't happen to me, but happened to my dad. And he still can't explain it to this day. I have 2 older siblings, including a brother that is 5 years older than me. When my brother Billy was 14 or 15, he was on the swim team at the high school. He had a best friend, Dusty, whom he'd been friends with since they were babies. Our parents and his parents were also really good friends, and our dads worked together. These two, however, were inseparable. If you ever couldn't find one of them, your first thought was to figure out where the other was. My family was driving home one night from a swim meet that my brother was in. He was on the bus driving home as well, but Dusty was not a swimmer and was at home. A man that my dad worked with called our car phone. This was before cell phones. The conversation soon became very sad, and you could tell that my dad had become very, very upset over something. I was in the back seat with my sister, watching as my mom continually asked him, What is it? What happened? After he hung up, he tells us that Dusty had hung himself and had died. It was a very sad time after that, as I'm sure you can imagine. I will never forget hearing my brother's cries when they told him, when we met him at the school to take him home. A few weeks later, things have sort of calmed down. My dad is laying in bed about to fall asleep. The phone next to his bed rings and he picks it up. Dusty continually called our house, asking for Billy. My dad immediately recognized the voice as his. The conversation, as best as I can remember, went something like this. Is Billy there? No, he's not here right now. Dusty, is that you? Is he okay? Yeah, he's doing all right. And that was the end of it. My dad is a huge skeptic and wouldn't make up a story like this. He swears to this day that it was Dusty that called him that night.